right, guys, we are live. Welcome back in to the Crypto Breakfast Club. We are live this morning, and we're going to get into it. Big day, XRP, Coinbase, a lot of the big crypto firms going against the big banks for a second time as we try to get the Clarity Act passed through. Stablecoin yield seems to be the big thing that's holding up the market structure bill or Clarity Act. So definitely want to dive into it today. We are live on YouTube, live on X. We've got an X space going at the same time. So a bunch of people, I'm sure, will be tuning in. Make sure you guys help share the stream out if you're listening over on X. Help us out with a like, a repost, reshare over there. If you're here on YouTube, welcome in. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. A big day. We're going to talk about, everything that's going on because it's really interesting. You've got some folks blaming Coinbase on the fact that we're not already, moving on from the Clarity Act and getting this thing pushed forward. But others are saying, well, wait a minute, if the bill's not actually solid for crypto, why would we want it to pass? I saw a recent clip from Bessent, from the US government, basically blaming Coinbase on the market structure bill not passing. So I wanted to get some people's thoughts, get some people's opinions on this. We'll dive into it. We'll hit it from all angles here and talk about what's going on. We'll take a look at the markets, take a look at price action, all of that here on the stream. So that's what our plan is today. I appreciate you guys for being here. I am just setting up a few different things for the X space as well. So make sure you guys come on in. And if you guys want to come up and join me on the X space, feel free, request. I'll help you guys up here. It's just kind of me running the show right now. Paid's over in Hong Kong right now at Consensus, big conference going on out there. So, but the show goes on. We're still here, rolling, and we'll take a look at the overall market right now, and take a look at some price action. Take a look at what's going on right now in the markets. We do have some interesting action happening in the altcoin space. Bitcoin, though, coming up here at market open a little bit, climbing above 69,000 right now. XRP up a little bit too at 141. Ethereum showing a lot of strength right now against Bitcoin. The longer we kind of zoom out and take a look at where we are in the last 7 days, they're both down about the same percentage, 11.5%, 12%, Bitcoin and ETH. So that's good if you hold Ethereum, right? Just seeing the fact that Ethereum's hanging in there and not really losing a ton of value compared to Bitcoin. So that's a pretty positive sign, honestly. ETH is holding steady right now, at least right now, above that $2,000 threshold. Solana, just to give you an example, is down 18% in the same time frame. Bitcoin, ETH down, 11, 12%. So Solana lagging behind a little bit. XRP hanging in there too, only down 12% in the last 7 days after the nice bounce back day. We had a brutal sell-off, right, where Bitcoin came down to 60,000, and then a really nice bounce back up over 70K, and now we've just been range bound, around this level. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. I do think we can consolidate in this range for quite some time. Remember, this is a price level that goes all the way back to the top of 2021's market. We're literally sitting on 2021's all-time high right now on Bitcoin. So we've seen that price level before multiple times, right? It's acted as resistance. It's acted as support throughout the last 4 or 5 years. So it is no surprise that we're kind of range bound right now at these price levels, honestly, in my opinion. So yeah, that's essentially where we are. And we'll get into, some of the stuff with the Clarity Act here as well. I do think it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this all plays out today, to see if we get any kind of, positive news from this. But I wanted to ask you all too. So feel free, come on up, request a mic. How important is the Clarity Act right now? I think you get different opinions on this. You get different people saying different things in terms of, do we really need this? Is it, like, where does this kind of fall on the, lists of important line items for the crypto market to perform well. I think on one hand, you know, many people thought we'd be further along by now. And so, and if you're looking at various altcoins, I do think it's important. Is the Clarity Act important for Bitcoin? Not necessarily, right? I don't think we get a ton of clarity, more clarity than we already have with Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's kind of in a league of its own. I think this is more about this altcoin market. You know, what does this look like moving forward for the altcoin market? And when we get some type of market structure bill or Clarity Act, same thing, passed, I do think we start to understand a little bit better which altcoins are kind of head and shoulders above the rest. That's kind of been my way of looking at this. Right now, the altcoin market is super speculative. Certainly, there's better bets than some others in terms of risk tolerance, right? But with the Clarity Act should come a lot clearer picture of which altcoins are going to be kind of deemed in a different category compared to the rest. And so I do think getting that passed will help, you know, many of the lower, not lower end, but, you know, secondary altcoins, we'll call them, right? Like Ethereum's interesting because it already has ETFs. It's already been kind of deemed as a chosen one, if you will. Solana, same thing, right? But like, what about like, you know, Cardano and Sui and Avalanche and, you know, Chainlink and Ondo? Like, how are all of these going to fit into a category, you know? What is Dogecoin, right? Like, where does Hyperliquid and Aster, these perp dexes, where do these align? What's Litecoin? What's Zcash? What's Stellar XLM? What's Kronos? You know, what's Polkadot? What's BitTensor? You know, there's a lot of questions here in terms of, you know, which altcoins we should prioritize. It's already hard enough right now because there's so many altcoins out there in the space. And this is something we've talked about for quite some time. It's become way more difficult to perform well in this altcoin market simply because we just have too many things out there and not enough liquidity to go around and really, you know, push all of these prices up at once. I mean, we saw it happen since 2021 to now. We've seen various altcoins move, but never has it moved all at once. And I think you could point a lot of fingers. You know, the first big thing that I would look at is the performance of Ethereum. It's certainly been lackluster compared to where Bitcoin went, 126,000. I think if you would ask somebody, you know, back in 2020 and 2021 and ask them, hey, Bitcoin's at 126K, where's ETH? I mean, I think they would have said, what, 8K, 9K, 10K, right? And we've never even got close to that yet. So I do think it starts and ends with Ethereum at the top. And maybe we do need the Clarity Act passed for people to feel more comfortable getting into Ethereum. You know, I look at the ETFs. I thought we'd see more interest in Ethereum's ETF. And it could still come, right? But I don't think the message is clear in terms of what Ethereum is and what it's going to do for this merge that we're going through with TradFi merging with DeFi, right? And I think the story for Bitcoin is just so simple and easy to understand. And the institutions obviously have been tracking it and know what it is, right, for a really long time. So, you know, you look at BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, it's been the most successful ETF they've ever had within that time frame that it's been out. What's been interesting, we've seen a bunch of ETF outflows recently over the past several weeks and months. We've seen outflows on the Ethereum and Bitcoin ETFs. But we've seen inflows on XRP and Solana. Just last week, XRP had almost 40 million in inflows. Solana had like 4 million. But positive numbers. XRP way more than Solana. Now they recently just had a new product come out, so those numbers could be heightened a little bit in terms of, you know, the ETF numbers just from last week. But overall, over the past several weeks and months, we've seen XRP and Solana get inflows while Bitcoin and Ethereum are seeing outflows. And this has been a trend we've been watching and following for a really long time. So that's been interesting to watch. And so, I'm trying to get some folks up here. So I am live streaming this. Okay, now I can see Clifford up here next to me here. Cliff, what's going on, man? Hey, do you mind if I make you a co-host too? The space does better with at least a co-host.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, man. Good morning, too, by the way.
Good morning, man. What's on your mind, man? Big day, XRP Coinbase trying to fight for crypto again today against the big banks, man. How big of a deal is this, in your opinion?
We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. I think I would like to see them stand their ground and not budge a single inch on what they want with stablecoin yields. I would really like to see it. I feel like the momentum is with them, and I feel like the banks kind of need this more than crypto does. Honestly, the banks are losing market share, and it appears to me that crypto is gaining market share, even though it may not appear that way on the charts. If you just look in the RWA space at what's being tokenized, mostly treasuries, that space is continuing to grow at a rapid pace. So I think this bill is much more important for the banks. And I think that if crypto is able to hold out and kind of wait it out, then we have a lot better opportunity of getting what we actually want out of this bill. So I don't think that is something that, as bad as we all want it to go fast, I don't think it's something that has to go fast, right? Maybe, slow and steady kind of wins the race sometimes. And if we want to truly get what we want out of this bill, then we really need to be calculated and wait it out. So I hope that's what we see from Brian and Brad today in Washington. And of course, we're not going to know all the details, but I hope that's kind of what comes from that meeting,
I mean, knowing what we know, do we think like Coinbase is actually fighting a good fight here, or like, because on one side you've got like Besant saying, hey, this is Coinbase holding things up, like this thing should be through. We've got bipartisan support. It's like, they're making it seem from the White House end like, crypto's asking for too much. It's like, you guys wanted a bill, we're giving you a bill, and now you're being nitpicky. Like, you're hearing that narrative come out, but you're also seeing it from the other end of, hey, if we can't offer stablecoin yield and the banks can, like, then we're not the same as the banks. They're clearly drawing a line in the sand saying, hey, the banks are bigger and more important than us, and we're not allowed to offer this yield in the crypto space. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the tale of two stories right now. And that's kind of been my narrative. It's like this push and pull, like, but what's your opinion, Cliff? Like, is Coinbase and Brian Armstrong and the crypto side, are they asking for too much here? Like, or are they pushing back on the right things?
I think they're not asking for enough, to be honest. I think they could go much harder if they wanted to. I think if they really wanted to push it, they say, okay, no bill. We're not gonna agree to anything unless we get, what we're seeking. I mean, the banks for decades and decades and decades have had no problem running the monopoly that they have, right? It's all of a sudden when crypto shows up and it's the new kid on the block that it's a problem. So it's only a problem because they're losing market share, which means crypto's winning the battle. Whether they want to admit that or not, that's on them. But it's definitely, crypto is the new kid on the block, and people are beginning to open their eyes to that and to see the liquidity that's available and yield that one can accumulate in certain things. So I think, man, honestly, obviously, Coinbase has a business to run. It's obviously something they're fighting for. Same with Ripple. They have a business to run as well. So to say it's not going to benefit them would be naive. But at the same time, they are crypto businesses, and eventually that benefit would probably roll down to market participants as well. So I'm in their camp. I'm not fully sold. I mean, obviously, I don't trust any of them very much, totally, but I trust them a whole lot more than I do the banks. So, you know, um, and to answer your question, I don't believe anyone needs a market structure bill other than the banks. So it's, crypto has been around almost 20 years now without market structure. Um, and I mean, I'd say it's done pretty well. So the only entities that need something on paper to separate crypto from the banking industry is the banking industry. Crypto doesn't need it. So that's where I'm at with it, man.
No, I appreciate that, man. I want to jump to Mutasco, get his thoughts on all of this. Good morning, Mutasco. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, Zach. I have a more like nuanced view on this. It's kind of ironic because I've been following Brian Armstrong, and I just posted this because as you guys are talking, it may not fit into your views, Clifford, but hear me for a second. I believe that when we end up with a free market where there is room for competition between players and there's room for innovation and there's a challenge for how efficiently the players allocate capital, right? Now, there is a generational divide going on. There's the old guard, right? The boomers, and they have a lot of the money literally trapped up in their bank accounts. And these banks are doing everything because somehow they sucked them into the vortex, right? It could be index funds or mutual funds or whatever crap they wrapped them into, right? And that group, they're actually living longer. So this may not end very soon. So the idea that there are the millennials, the Gen Zs, and Gen Alphas, and I mean, think about what just happened yesterday. Mr. Beast announced a new bank called Gen Z Bank or whatever, and you have this revolution going on around the younger generation not actually interested in the traditional way of banking. So in my view, I'm thinking, and I don't know Brian Armstrong's political, ties, right? Whether he's a Democrat or Republican, I don't know. But it's ironic because, and I posted it here for anybody who wants to go read it. It's a good Substack. This is prior to the election, okay? And this is 2022. Brian put this on his feed. He says Gary Gensler's loan crusade against digital assets represents a bad policy choice that will translate into really bad politics for Democrats. I can actually rewrite this whole thing, okay, with a little bit of conspiracy, okay, and just not knowing whether Brian is a Democrat or a Republican. And if he's actually doing this, that will be a strategic mistake on Coinbase's side. Because if he believes that, okay, yeah, let the banks get what they want, who cares? You're not going to fight them. But the question is, will they lose either way? Because there's a new generation of people, and if they think they're going to just corner the market, we have alternative options. So the next generation of customers are not going to come and go to JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or Citibank. So I think this argument is a little bit complicated because I could turn this around and say, well, Brian Armstrong, I mean, I've read the bill. I know there are really important sections of the bill that literally have nothing to do with yield, okay? Which is probably going to give the entire industry a boost, right? knowing what a security is, knowing what a commodity is. No, if this becomes a law, I don't care if Gary comes back to the SEC, right? Because now there is a clear federal law that defines what a security is, what the corners are, how to become a commodity if you want, who oversees each of these categories. So I think if you say, are we at a point where we're trying to say, well, we need perfection? And if we need perfection, everything else should die. I don't think it's a good idea, right? I hate the banks just like everybody else in crypto that may see them as like, they're just trying to extract. We get that. But I think if you've been in crypto for a while, you can see that most crypto people that have been here for a while, they now sit on their own banks, right? If you're self-custody and you know how to self-custody things, most of your wealth is going to be literally in a seed phrase, right? And if you find a way to put it in a hard, cold wallet, you keep control of it. You can move your money anyhow you want. You have that freedom. Nobody can stop you from doing that. But if you start doing anything that is criminal, better believe it, somebody's going to come get you. If you're not paying your taxes and you're trying to evade the system, they will get you, right? That has nothing to do with the bank. But I also believe that the amount of money that is sitting in people's wallets across the crypto sector clearly tells me that the banks are missing out in this market. So what I would suggest is, because here's my conspiracy, and this is my final comment. My conspiracy, as I look at what Brian Armstrong felt Gary was doing to the industry, is that you can flip his message today by saying that, okay, what are you trying to gain from here? Because we know you're not also that perfect, right? You've had opportunities where you could help the industry and you looked the other way, right? And we get it. You're doing it for yourself. But all of a sudden, trying to turn around and act like, you're like a better person for the industry, it's, I don't know how to call it, but it tends to me that if he makes a mistake and drags this on, like, oh yeah, because of the yield, we're not gonna, then we don't need a bill. Guess what's gonna happen? If the Democrats flips the House and the Senate gets a little tricky, we're done. We're done. We don't even need to talk about a bill anymore, right? Until after 2028. Is that a good thing for the industry? I don't think so. So if they fail on getting the Clarity Act through, guys, I guarantee you, and maybe the conspiracy that I'm thinking is right. Maybe Brian Armstrong is trying to create this force which is somehow going to delay this bill into a Democratic controlled House, so that maybe politically the Democrats could use it as, well, the Republicans got the Genius Act, we're getting whatever Clarity Act. We're for crypto, Republicans are for crypto, whatever that crap is. I just think that there's some politics that is wrapped up around this, that we are being like literally the victims, right? Because they're using us as tools to get their own interests at heart. I think if anyone, and this is just my own spin on this, by the way, there is politics wrapped up in this. If there is a delay, if they believe that we have an opportunity to get Clarity Act passed, so that a large chunk of the Clarity Act, which demarcates what is a security, what is a commodity, how do you get there, all the things that are inserted in the bill could help the industry grow incrementally, we should get the bill passed, right? But if we fail, then we lose it all. And then the hope is Democrats will get to use it as a political tool to maybe get people fooled into 2029. If that's what they're banking on, that's all bad politics. That's all bad strategy, right? If we have an opportunity now, let's get it through, right? And then maybe we can fix some things later. Who cares? They could do an amendment. They could try to figure out ways at the SEC or the CFTC level, introduce some exemptions and rules to make this more feasible. But trying to, stop the entire bill because of yield, I think it's a joke, right?
Well,
and this
I think
is not even against him. I just feel like Losing this bail is going to be a disaster for the space.
I think they're putting the headline. This is my opinion. I think they're putting the headlines out there, and can stable coins, pay interest, blah blah blah. They're choosing to put the whole yield thing out there. But I think the bigger storyline is the big banks do not like stable coins in the hands of crypto companies. Because essentially these big crypto companies become banks and it's direct competition, right? I think that's more or less what it is. And I mean, they know obviously the money market is essentially mirrored on Coinbase's platform with USDC. So that's a huge part of it. But I think it's the bigger narrative around stablecoins. They don't want to lose control over anything related to stablecoins. They don't want a consumer to make a choice and choose to go with a crypto company over a bank, right? That's essentially at the core of this issue. Because right now, as it currently sits, you can go and find better yield on some of these platforms within the crypto space than the money market. Now there's associated risk with that, of course, right? And we saw some of the crazy APYs that were offered back in 2021. I mean, shit, at one point, I remember at one point crypto.com was giving you like, 10 to 12% on USDC. Just parking your money. So you're literally saying, hey, Mr. Multimillionaire, you can come and park $1 million in USDC over here at crypto.com, and we're going to give you $100,000 for free. And people took advantage of that. I know many people who took advantage of that in 2021. Many of my people that I've met in the space, we're talking about high net worth individuals. They looked at that and said, why the hell would I park my money in a money market and earn 4.5% when I could put it in USDC? Some of these guys were putting $1 million, earning $100,000 doing nothing. Earning a year's salary for most people doing nothing, right? And so it's definitely the key issue. I mean, the yield part of it is big, but I think just in general, the whole stablecoin issue, and the banks want to play a role in all of this. They want to be a part of all of this in some way. If it's going to happen, they got to be in the middle of it. And, it's tough, man. To me, I don't know how that's going to get resolved. I really don't. And what I think could happen, in my opinion, is that this current structure bill that we have could be thrown out, and eventually we do something different. And I don't know what that looks like. I mean, but we need to come to a compromise. I mean, this is the second time they're going to meet on this issue today. We'll see if, what news comes out of here. But I personally don't feel good about this because this hits the banks right where it hurts. They don't care about Bitcoin as an alternative asset class to invest in. They don't care about Ethereum. They don't care about any of these altcoins. They don't care about that. Go ahead, invest in whatever the hell you want to with the associated risk. The only thing they care about is they don't want to lose an edge, any type of edge, when it comes to the dollar. And essentially, a stable coin, it's the dollar. It's pegged to the dollar. They've made their entire living off, them controlling the dollar. That's it. I mean, and so yield's a big part of it too. We got Matthew, we got Mar up here. Guys, share the space, share the room. If you're watching live on YouTube X, share it out there. Really appreciate you guys. We've got a bunch of people tuning in across all the live streams. I'll go to Matthew and then I'll go to Mar. And guys, feel free to come on up and join us on stage. Matthew, what's up, man? Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. Zach, I'm excited to, I'll be sharing it today, hopefully, but I'm working on, kind of this idea about like dashboards. I kind of got this crazy wild hair the other day about dashboards. And one of the things that I want to try to build is a dashboard that takes like a fundamental view of digital assets in terms of like overvalued and undervalued, kind of using Buffett's metrics in terms of valuing a company. So keep on the lookout for it, but it could be good for the community as we look to evaluate projects. On the stablecoin thing, I want to talk about just really quickly my experience, because I've worked to set up at least 5 different Reg D funds at this point, so accredited investor funds that people contribute digital assets to, or that are digital asset focused funds. And one of the things that I run into, which is a really big blocker, is you definitely need like a bank account because people need to contribute money to the fund, and they need to do it in a pretty traditional way. So whether you're using like Bank of America or Chase or whoever, the first challenge is finding a bank that will actually support a commercial entity and a special product, special private placement vehicle for these investments. Most of them will just say, oh, you do crypto and you have a Reg D fund? Like, no, we're not going to service you. So the ones that will service you, though, make it pretty prohibitive for you to actually engage with them. For example, like I'm raising, I'm working to raise another fund right now, and the team is being told that they need to keep effectively like 5% of their overall capital in a non-interest bearing money market account to cover fees for the bank, just to have basically liquidity at the bank so the bank can earn their fees. So in order to even partner and create some of these private placement vehicles, you've got to leave hundreds of thousands of dollars at a traditional financial institution just to have a bank account open so that you can get access to people who are accredited who want to participate in this stuff. And so it's just kind of an interesting practical example of why it's just such a pain in the ass to like deal with traditional banks, and they make you leave this money in a place you can't do anything with it. And it's just like the opportunity cost of that couple $100,000 either being stored in Bitcoin or a stablecoin fund that I could generate 6 or 7 or 8 or 9% on. It's just ridiculous. And it's really just too bad.
Yeah, man, it is just crazy frustrating. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, you look at a lot of these traditional IRAs and individual brokerage accounts out there. I mean, I just looked at mine yesterday, and I talked to my financial advisor quite a bit about it. But currently, man, I've got a good amount sitting in the money market, and
I haven't gotten any missed calls from you, Zach.
What's that?
I haven't gotten any missed calls from you. You said you spoke to your financial.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the same place who does my taxes, you know how it goes, man. They get you, right? I mean, it's like where I get my taxes done, and then oh well, we can manage your money for you a little bit. Okay, all right. But no, I the guy that I know, I've known him personally for a long time, so I actually do trust him, and he's a crypto guy. That's the rare combination. You find a TradFi guy with a bunch of investments in crypto. He's big on XRP, he's big on ETH and Bitcoin. And so when I learned about that like 5 years ago, I was like, you're hired 100%. But anyway, I mean, I was talking to him about that, and he basically just said, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reason to keep a good portion of your money in the money market right now. There's a lot of uncertainties, and it's the same things we talk about, right? I mean, he didn't necessarily tell me anything I didn't know, but it's good to kind of hear from somebody with a little bit different background, obviously looking at it more traditionally, not inside crypto, the guy that actually manages my my couple portfolios over there. And he said, look, we'll strike when the getting's good, and during that little correction, we deployed a little bit of capital during that little correction that we had few days ago or whatever with some of the stocks. And that's how we're playing it right now. And I think a lot of people are, right? But it just goes to show you how big the money market is in the TradFi sense. And this whole stablecoin thing, man, it's holding up everything. And it's I just don't know how you get to a point where the banks are like, yeah, okay, we're good with that. Like, I don't know. I mean, do we got to literally sell our souls to the banks and essentially allow them to be the mediator in all of this? Is that what we want?
It's crazy to really, like, when you see the fight this vehement and like this particular, it becomes incredibly apparent how valuable the management of actual dollars, not investments, but just dollars is. The actual holding of dollars and who actually can holds those actual pieces of, you know, whatever the digits are in that kind of sense, like you hold the actual asset. It's not about going and investing in Bitcoin or some of these other esoteric ETFs or whatever the case is. Like you can go do that to your red in the face and we'll take some fees. The biggest last bastion of competitive volume for fees comes down to the fact that it's all about where dollars are managed, not anything else. It's just insane.
Yeah, man, for sure. I want to kick it down to Mar. Mar, what's up, man? Good morning. What's your thoughts on all of this?
Hey, good morning, Zach. Good morning, everyone. I mean, you guys took all my words, man. You guys just hit it, you know. And a lot of people don't talk about this and the dollar because they're like, you know, they're up there like just lost talking about. They're thinking that Bitcoin or crypto asset or even the stable coin is gonna take over, you know, as the main currency in the US. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What are you even thinking about? I mean, listen, the banks are going to win. We just need to get our piece of the pie, you know, and make it feel like, okay, victory for us. Until, like Mutasco says, you could have changes later on where it will favor us more because crypto and stable coins and blockchain technology just starts taking over. But at the end of the day, it's like what you said, Zach, and especially also Matt. These people don't give a fuck about Bitcoin. They're making their money off of Bitcoin on the back end with the banks and all the inside information and trading that they have and all these fucking politicians. All they want is they want to be in control of what comes first, which is, you know, the U.S. wants gold. All right, they have gold. I think we hold the most gold in the world, and we want control of the physical dollar. They don't. Now they understand now there's a gateway with the stable coins, but you know what? At the end of the day, you know, what's it called? Terra, whatever, the USDT, you know, their stable coin is backed up by the dollar. And who's holding the dollar? Because you ask older people, man, like they still think that their money it's parked in the bank, like physically inside the bank. I don't even think these banks hold more than $1 million in there. Not even, you know, and it's all digital now. The dollar is digital, you know, and this stable coin is a threat to the banks because they want to basically, and this is what I was told, and I think Matt kind of said it. I wasn't listening 100%. I'm sorry for that, but it's the banks are trying to find a way to make money, yield money, because they're holding the dollar. They're the ones keeping with the insurance. They're keeping the dollar safe. The digital dollar, they're keeping it safe. So they think, oh, it's not fair. You're holding the USDT. You're making all this money, you know, staking whatever it is, you know, but we're holding the dollar. So they're probably going to want a piece of that where you're making off your USDT 3%, 4% yearly. It will probably go down every year that goes by because the banks will be like, no, we're holding the asset, the actual asset, which is the dollar, and we're the ones ensuring that nothing happens to this dollar. So we got to make money of those stable coins. And at the end of the day, it's all about the stable coin. I said this more than a year ago, Zach. These guys don't give a fuck about Bitcoin, any of these moving assets. They want their dollar, which is the gateway into these assets, and they want those 0.1% trading fees, buying fees, moving fees, whatever it is, from the stable coins, just like they have it with the dollar. It's all about the stable coins. At the end, I truly believe the banks are going to get their way. It's just how much we could, you know, tweak it and say, okay, we want this, we want that, better than nothing, you know. But they got to get this, you know, when it comes to crypto and Bitcoin and taxes and this and trading and what is the wash through and all that, that they could get that done in days. But the stablecoin is where it really gets fucking complicated, man. And I guess that's why Tether was buying more gold. You know, I guess that's why they were buying more gold. You know, but the banks are going to get their way, and it's all about the dollar. I've always said it. For me, that's the greatest asset. I know people hate it. You could talk shit about it, but for me, when the economy goes down to shit, something like 2008, the best fucking thing you could be holding is cash in your banks, just to start buying everything so fucking discount at 99% discount. So yeah, that's what the banks are fighting for, and you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and be the
But Mar, real
bad
quick
guy
though,
here.
real quick though. But if let me ask you this: if you had the ability and you knew the funds were safe to keep that cash that you're talking about in USDC and earn 10% on your money while you wait to deploy it into other assets, what are you going to do?
Yeah, but it's backed up by the dollar, and the banks are the ones holding that asset.
I know, but you're going to keep it with that crypto company, not the banks.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. No, for sure, of course. But they want a piece of that 10%. They're gonna make deals with all these crypto companies.
Maybe
like,
that's
we're
the
gonna
compromise.
insure it. We're gonna do this,
Yeah.
and they're gonna make deals. They want a piece of. It's not gonna be 10% anymore. In 3 or 4 years from now, it's gonna be like 1 or 2%, if it even goes that way. You know, and then whatever crypto company, this is what's gonna happen, Zach. Whatever crypto company gives you 5-10%, 5 years from now, no one is going to do it because they're going to scare you. They're going to say, oh, there's no insurance. This company could go out of business. And just like Celsius, don't do it. Come with us. You're insured with us. You're better off with this crypto company that's insured by our bank, but you're only going to get 0.01%. You understand?
Right.
They're going to win. It's going to take time. You know, I think the time is now to make that yield of your stable coins. But in 3 or 3, I don't even give the Democrats. Oh my God, it's over. There's no way that they're going to let the power handed to other humans that want to reinvent the wheel. I think the banks are going to end up winning. In fact, they might even seem like they lost, and they probably won even more. Because in the back end, they're making the deals. They know this stable coin it's a threat, especially how you can move it around to other countries. You know, I also came up here once, and I think even what's his name said there's going to be regions where certain stable coins are going to rule. You know, Asia, you know, America. You know, it's going to Africa. There's going to be certain stable coins that are going to rule, and you're probably going to get. The blockchain will not be able to transfer those coins around.
I could see that too.
You know?
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, you're already living in a world right now where, like, you go to Dubai or whatever, you could buy anything you want with USDT.
Yeah.
I
Dude,
mean,
the most competitive thing this country could do would be to allow all of its states to issue their own stable coins and then issue their own bonds and everything on a tokenized network like that, and let people who want to be in Alabama get the Alabama rate. And if Alabama incentivizes you, then people are going to open up accounts in Alabama or wherever it is, right? It's a huge competitive opportunity.
The one thing we don't want to hear at all, which I don't think this will happen, is a China announcement, but the U.S. saying stable coins are illegal for now until we don't get this cleared up. And the banks are powerful enough to do that, to make that happen.
That's a scary thought, Mark.
But they're powerful enough, man, to say, fuck this, stable coins are illegal in the US.
Yeah, it's definitely sobering.
So if stable coins are permitted, then what networks what rails are going to run them?
JPM coin.
I mean, the only thing that scales is the Lightning Network. Nothing else scales.
And Matt, you know, once you start putting these stable coins like in credit, like as credit cards, oh man, You know,
Yeah.
it's a threat.
Well, and to the other point that was just made, like the banks will have, like, they know what the technology is. There's nothing proprietary, any real moat here. And it's all about the network effects. If you control the accounts, if you control the capital, and you just create the permissioned blockchain ecosystem, you can set whatever rules you want.
They invented blockchain. They've had it for years and years. It's just that they had it blocked, you know?
Well, you're right. It was created in the 1990s, and a permissioned blockchain is basically just an expensive database. Like, people forget to like recognize that the value of Bitcoin is its distributed nature, not necessarily decentralized. But like a centralized blockchain is just a database that's permissioned.
Quick comment on Mara, with your point about the banks are going to win. I remember this is a long time ago. Warren Buffett.
I mean, this at the end will benefit Bitcoin.
Can you hear me, Mara?
I mean, I think Bitcoin will just go parabolic. If
Mara, can you hear Mutosco?
I don't know.
No. I'll drop down.
No, I will. Let me. What? You?
I can hear you, Mutosco.
Okay, cool. No, quick one. Mara made a comment, and I wanted to reference Warren Buffett. In 2011, the U.S. was the political. It's always a cycle, right? It was July 2011. He was on Squawk Box on CNBC, and they were asking him about the debate on, raising the debt limit, and he used the comment about trust and says that the U.S. economic moat is wrapped around trust, right? Whether it's the bond market or our commitments that we made to Social Security. And he made a comment that was funny because he said, you can pay your bills on time, or you pay it only when you have a gun faced at you in your house. What happens after you pay that bill is that people will have a different view of you, right? So trust is usually one of the biggest things. And I think the issue with the stable coins and the banks is that, and one of the things he made, and I'll encourage everybody to go look it up and listen to it. It's on YouTube. It's free. Because he said that when you have this standoff between Republicans, Democrat on the debt ceiling or whatever, we can't agree on this and that. He says it's like playing a Russian roulette, right? If you gave me a 6-shooter with a bullet in one chamber and said spin it, you get the trick there, right? It's like saying, hey, yield. But we're not talking about the other things that would come with the bill. Is that actually smart? Maybe not. I think the banks are using this as like a trick, because if we keep dragging it and we don't get a bill, they still win, right? I just posted in the comment section the IMF's view. This is the International Monetary Fund, their view on stablecoins, okay? Interestingly and shockingly positive, okay? And I also posted in the same comment a report by the U.S. Federal Reserve. I think there was a conference. I forgot the title of the conference, but you can pull it up and read it. You can actually ask Grok, and it will pull up the original conference and then read it. But there's a snapshot of this $6 trillion that, I don't know who is behind the report, but the report is saying that this is what would happen if stable coins are allowed to exist. And this impact, which is a $6 trillion, will literally do a flight from the traditional banks into stable coins. Now, there will be a lot of debates on what the $6 trillion number is, but I've put in the reference in the comment section. Anybody that wants to challenge that, you can go look it up, sit down with Grok, ask questions. But this is bigger than what we're hearing. If we're saying, oh, it's yield, we're focused on not one thing. There are other things that the banking lobby, the global banking central banks, what they think this is, right? And they're using this as like a simple poison pill to get us distracted from getting an overall bill that has a lot of meat in it, right, for the entire industry. Because what that does is, if we derail this, it just gives the banks more time to prepare and get ready. We don't want to have a prepared banking lobby legacy institutional system ready to compete with crypto startups, right? Because then you would have lost the entire game. So I think we have to be careful. And I don't care about these people that are always on the round table. They're not representing me. I could care less what Brian Armstrong says in there. He's not representing me. What I do know is that they have their own selfish interests. And for that reason, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Brian Armstrong is right. Well, whether he's right or wrong, I don't care. I think that this is a much bigger issue. And the idea that we can derail an entire bill, I mean, if you've been in this industry for the past 10 years, you know that the message has always been wild, wild west. We need a bill. We need regulation. We finally have something, and then we're trying to use yield as a key issue to derail the entire bill. I still think it's a strategic mistake, and I hope they get through and get us something. Because either way, it's not going to stop DeFi from growing. It's not going to stop, like what Zach said. There are alternative yield options out there that you can put your money in and get something out, right? Considering all the risks. There are options, and I think the banks should compete for those customers. If they can't, then they lose the customer to somebody else. That's a good thing.
You know, one thing I think about, if this bill can't get passed, and let's play hypothetical, and I want to get to Toro too. He's had his hand up for a while, and then Zach from Subway's back up here as co-host too. I'll get to him next. But let's play this scenario out that this thing doesn't get passed, and it gets tabled, whatever, for a year or two or whatever, and we just let it sit there. Doesn't that create a much stronger bull case for Bitcoin? Just saying. Like, we've already had a lackluster altcoin market. We've already had Bitcoin leave altcoins in the dust. If we can't get this Clarity Act passed, which, let's just face it, it doesn't really impact Bitcoin. It impacts
That's
altcoins.
exactly what it says, Zach. Bitcoin will go parabolic, I think.
I think you're going to see everybody just basically come to the conclusion that, hey, you know, the dust hasn't settled yet. It's been 4 or 5 years now. I mean, just buy Bitcoin. Just buy Bitcoin. We know what it is. We know how it's treated. We know how it's taxed. We know, it's understood. It's interesting.
I think I even think there's going to be a point, Zach, where these exchanges are not even going to let you move your Bitcoin out of the exchange. Like, people are just going to be trading paper Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin that you hold on your cold storage might be even worth even more money, man.
Yeah.
Not maybe, like outside the market, like someone telling you, I'll give you this much for that Bitcoin. It will be bid even higher than the market. That's how powerful I think Bitcoin will be in the next 5 to 10 years, man.
Well, I mean,
Like,
here's the other thing, though. Here's the other thing.
And Zach, I love Robinhood, but if you're holding your Bitcoin on an exchange, you're smart enough to buy Bitcoin. You should be smart enough to move it to a cold storage wallet.
I agree 100%. I mean, it's fine to get started and put it on Robinhood or Coinbase to get started, but eventually, especially once you've built up a large amount over time and you've been in the space for 4 or 5 years, and you got to learn how important cold storage is. I agree 100%. But one thing to consider here too, let's say the whole stablecoin yield thing doesn't happen and whatever, it gets pushed down the road. I mean, one thing we do have already is staking through Ethereum and Solana ETFs. So in a way, it could open the door for more people to go that route. You know what? Let me just go buy Ethereum ETF and earn yield that way. So it could be helpful to some of those assets that already have staking ETFs. Ethereum and Solana are the ones that do right now. But it brings up a lot of big questions of where we're going next if this thing doesn't get pushed through. Toro, what's going on, man? You had your hand up, and then I'll get up to Zach.
Yeah, Jim, guys, it's been a while. I think I joined while Mas was talking, and and I can I can really relate to a lot of things you were saying, because when it comes to stable coins, let me start with the stable coin usage around the world. I think last month when Aisho Speed came to Nigeria, he wanted to buy some diamond earrings or so in the shop. So he asked if the shop owner had PayPal and the rest, and we don't use PayPal over here. Like, we are not able to send money from PayPal, but we can receive. So most people don't use PayPal because it's pointless if we can't receive money from PayPal, but we can send out money through PayPal. So most people in Nigeria don't use PayPal because what's the point if we can send money but we can't receive money? So PayPal, I think it's this year, PayPal started trying to come back into the Nigerian market to maybe want to allow us to receive after many years of not allowing us to receive money from PayPal. So he paid with USDT. I think, yeah, he paid with USDT. It was around $1,500. So he paid with USDT, and that's how it is around most of the world, around some countries already. Most people already trading with USDT, whether it's allowed or not allowed. Like, people just already trade with it. Now, can I do an analysis of the market? I remember the last time I was here, Zach, we were still at 90K, 100K, where and Solana around the 100 and few dollars, when I think that was beginning of the year and ending of last year, where we were talking about how low they can go, and how I was talking about how Solana will get to $70-something. So right now, I think we have broken all those support areas. We have broken all those support areas, and we are still not safe, because for Bitcoin, I think I'll only go full-time bullish again, at least for this month, if we are able to have, let's say, a good close around the 72,500 area, maybe in the next few days or today or so. I'll be able to now maybe agree that from that 72,500 we could go back to 90K and the rest of those prices. And finally, I think I want to talk about one major reason why everybody, if you're going to be a trader, you want to trade sports or leverage in the crypto space, you're not a full-time investor with lots of money to hold huge amount. You really need to understand how the market works, because earlier this year, Tom Lee was talking about how he believes Bitcoin will get to a new all-time high around that January time. Where are we now? Tom Lee is down billions of dollars on his investment on Earth, but he doesn't care because he's rich and that money won't really affect him. Michael Saylor too. Those are rich, extremely rich guys. So if you're going to be a trader, I always advise that it's important that you have extreme knowledge of when to be in the market and when not to be in the market, so that you will not be an exit liquidity for any exchange CEO or any top guru or whatever. You should just be able to know when to hold for long term, know when to be out completely, because that will really save you a lot of money. Most of these guys will not mind losing most of their money, because it's probably not even their money. Maybe they have an investment company, people put money and all that stuff. So if you know you're going to be trading with your own money, you should be able to control. I think I saw something today, CEO of crypto.com. I saw that he bought this domain name AI.com.
Right. Yeah. It was a Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl ad. Everybody's kind of trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah. So now my point is, he bought it last year, but it was just revealed at the Super Bowl or so and the whole news. So he bought it for around $70 million. He bought it for around $70 million. And now the fun part of it is, I think I dropped a video about it. Most of these exchange owners and brokers, they have, let me focus on crypto, exchange owners. They have the money to probably pump their native token or Bitcoin or some of their tokens in the exchange. But guess what? They may never put their money on the line because $70 million would go a long way in pumping CRO, but will he put money to CRO? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
CRO pumps.
I want to bring it back to Clarity Act though, real quick, Toro, and I'll come back to you, but I want to get Zach's thoughts up there as well, because I want to keep this kind of on target here, because it's another big day. It's the second time we're kind of having this same talk in this same meeting, so I really want to keep it focused on this right now and what this means in terms of stable coins and this whole Clarity Act. Zach, what's going on, man?
How's it going? Yeah, no, Clarity Act is great. I hope it doesn't get passed. I'm totally against it. I don't think Bitcoin needs it. I think it's going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't need any regulations or anything. The only one that needs it is the ones that control everything. So I think it'll be bullish if it doesn't get passed. You know, we've been in the game
bullish
a long
for
time.
Bitcoin or bullish for everything?
Bullish for Bitcoin mostly. Bitcoin's it's in its own world.
Well, Zach, how much Bitcoin are you holding, bro?
A lot. More than God could imagine. Yeah. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't care about clarity. I really don't care. Honestly. It's kind of, it makes it more bullish, really. I think if it keeps getting denied, the price of Bitcoin is going to keep going up. And it's not really about the price for me. It's more about accumulation in the long run. And I agree with you, Mar. Exchanges, everyone's going to make it very difficult in the next 5 years to move it around, hold it. So if you want to be your own bank and control your destiny, hold that Bitcoin in a cold storage, right? And leverage against it. I've been saying this forever, and it's patience. Everyone just wants to get rich right away. That's really what it comes down to. They want to control everything, but I think they're going to keep denying it so they can accumulate. That's really what it is. I don't think they're there yet.
Zach, I have a friend that understands the value of Bitcoin. I guess just the value. He doesn't know the tech or blockchain. It took me 3 fucking months for him to move that Bitcoin from Coinbase to a cold storage. He looked at it for like a month. Are you sure it's there? Let me move it back to Coinbase to see if it's a real Bitcoin. I go, dude, it's there, and I'm showing him my Bitcoin. You know, a lot of people don't understand this wallet. They're still stuck. Like, if the exchanges or the banks, my money is safe in the bank. With the bank, my money is safe with exchanges. But yeah, it's going to be tough.
It is.
And this last thing, Zach, which you touched on this. When I hold my altcoins are to extract money, to make more money, and buy more Bitcoin and some other assets like, properties or stocks, whatever it is. But my main thing is Bitcoin. When I hold my Bitcoin, when I hold these altcoins, I see dollars. When I hold my Bitcoin, I see Bitcoin. That's it. Yeah. I don't care about the Clarity Act. I don't care about the fucking stable coins. I don't give a shit about any of that. I give a fuck about stacking up more Bitcoin.
I come back to this, and I try to put this in people's head. And when I talk to people at the my hockey rink, and there's a few dads that are big into crypto, and they listen to me and follow, and we talk all the time. And I go, you got to go back to this one point. Bitcoin, the idea of Bitcoin was a great fucking idea. It was really great idea. Everything off of it is a good idea. So you need to hold the asset, not financial advice because this is recorded. You need to hold the asset that is a great idea that comes around once in a lifetime, and no one will control it. You should control your own destiny. And with Bitcoin, it's like I'm almost becoming a Bitcoin maxi because I see the value in it, right? When you go back to gold, right, we don't really know if they actually hold that much gold that they say they hold. But in someone's wallet, they hold that Bitcoin, right? So it always comes back to this. And exchanges are okay to hold a little bit of Bitcoin. I say buy like $10 a week worth of it. And then when you see that stop in the next couple of years, and they try to control you managing your Bitcoin or buying it from them, make sure you hold the majority of your assets, your Bitcoin assets, in a cold storage, and then they don't have the control. But it's okay to buy it. I do it off of Coinbase just to watch to see what they're doing, right? Because if I'm not buying from them, I'm not knowing where the world's going, right? So the moment they go, you know, maybe you should stop buying, or whatever that time comes, because I always try to look into the future, then I'll know it's over for the little guy to buy Bitcoin. But it's really about accumulation for me. So when it comes back to the clarity, I don't care about the clarity. I really don't care. I don't care if they control any of that, because at the end of the day, the one asset that will be here forever based on market cap, liquidity, and the world value is Bitcoin. I don't think it's not going to be that kind of asset that we use daily. Absolutely not. There's no reason to. It's a digital gold. We have stablecoins for that. I transact in stablecoins almost daily. I use the Coinbase wallet. I pay for stuff with stablecoins, but I don't touch the Bitcoin because it's a hedge against inflation. And I think there'll be a point in time in the near future where it flips gold. People will laugh at me, but gold is not one of those commodities that is rare anymore. Wait until Elon gets to other planets and stuff. It's not going to become that rare. But Bitcoin, you can only make 21 million of them. So as the world adopts crypto, what?
Do you agree with me that your Bitcoin will be? Listen, if you ever want to do cash out and do whatever you want to, do with it, we all have. For me, Bitcoin is not silver or gold. For me, Bitcoin is freedom.
It's complete freedom, Mark.
Yeah,
but you're never going to want to sell your Bitcoin. That's where people get twisted. You want to leverage against it.
Right.
You
but
want to leverage.
Let's say somebody does want to sell it. Do you feel like 5-10 years from now, your Bitcoin on cold storage you will get more out of it than having
100%.
Change?
Yeah, Mar, because you own it. When it's on exchange, it's basically lending, from a bank. You don't own that Bitcoin. You're just borrowing, and they can do whatever they want with it. They can go, oops, your account is frozen, and now you're screwed. Basically, I know you're live streaming. I'm trying not to swear, but it's not yours if it's on exchange. It's yours if it's in the cold storage. And the way to fight the world is to own your own assets. You have to own it. So if anyone's new to the space, just keep that in mind. This is just common, my opinion, advice. You want to own it. You want to control your own destiny. You need to own your crypto. You're leveraging it. You're borrowing it from an exchange. But if it's on there, you do not own it. So
I've been hearing crazy stories, just theories, but you just never know. That Bitcoin is going to be so powerful that it's going to become a property where the U.S. is basically going to tell you, if you hold that on cold storage and we know where you're holding it, you're going to have to pay taxes yearly.
No, I don't think that's going to get to that. Only if you sell it. That's where they can make it really easy. Is just tax you when you sell it. But the goal is to never sell it. Borrow against it.
But that's the thing. Don't you think they're going to push you? They're probably going to push you to sell it because they're going to tax you every year because they're going to put it like a property.
They can't. That's not possible. They're not going to. Because you can just open a new wallet.
How would they find that wallet?
Well, they do already tax Bitcoin as property, just so we're clear on that. That's how it's currently taxed. It's taxed as property.
Right. But, Mar, they're not going to be able to find you. You just open a new wallet, send it, they go, I sent it to my buddy, go find him. They won't know.
But that's part of this whole Clarity Act, too, isn't it? I mean, in terms of the tax situation. This is another big piece of it. We're not hearing a lot about it. But it was supposedly a big piece of it, how they're going to categorize various crypto assets, how we're going to tax crypto, how we're going to tax gains. What was the big thing that they pushed the can down the road on, the SEC? It was your cost basis. Remember, that was a big deal a few years back, and they've still never resolved that, right? In terms of how you tax, on cost basis and things like that. So there's a lot still to be desired, I think, and left in here in this Clarity Act. It's just this whole stablecoin yield thing's taking precedence and getting all the headlines right now.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Zach. I mean, I think no matter what, man, I think what we're really saying here is like the only clear picture that we have right now is you should own Bitcoin.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean,
No,
and it sucks to say that because I think there's a lot of value in these altcoins right now, but it's just there's so much risk in holding them right now. I mean, it's been
Right.
4 years since we've seen a full-fledged altcoin season, and there will be another altcoin season of some type. But I think the question is, which altcoins are you going to want to be holding? It's not going to be everything moves at once again. So you've got to not only hold these things longer, but you got to be holding the right things longer.
Right.
And to
Zach,
maybe
you gotta think
realize
about
the
this
gains.
too. Like
Yeah.
Bitcoin doesn't have a spokesperson, right? Like if you look at BNB, you got CZ, ETH, you got Vitalik. They say one wrong thing, and that chart goes down. No one could say anything wrong about Bitcoin. I mean, countries are using it as leverage against each other. It's just right in everyone's face, but it boggles my mind how many people in the space just don't own it because in their head, they go, well, if I don't own one Bitcoin, it's not good enough. No, people have to understand, like, the wealthy hold the top asset, right? Whether they like it or not, over time, it's gone up. And it's about accumulation, not about price, right? If you're in here to get rich, go buy dog shit Inu or something, right? And see if you can do that. But overall, 90% of people lose their money in the space because they don't know how to trade when they could have just spent the time and bought Bitcoin. Come to the space, understand, we're not financial advisors. We're just looking at the top asset, where it's gone from day one to now. Go look at that. Even people complaining right now, 69K is terrible. That's like the top of last bull run. And it's like, all right, we're at a great bottom point for the next phase up. And with saturation in the market, everything, things are going to consolidate. I'm loving what's happening in the market. It's pissing everyone off, but it's kind of making people open their eyes and realize what is valuable in the space. And it comes down to the top assets. And the biggest one is Bitcoin. So why not just buy Bitcoin?
Another interesting aspect of this too is like you're getting a lot of pushback from Brian Armstrong and Coinbase. I haven't heard a lot of pushback from Brad Garlinghouse with RLUSD and Ripple's stablecoin. By the way, Ripple's stablecoin, go look at the performance from Q3 to Q4 last year of Ripple's stablecoin. It's insane. It's super impressive. So it's just been interesting though because Brian Armstrong and Coinbase are the ones, it seems like that, at least on the surface, they're the ones holding this up, which kind of makes sense because Coinbase's revenue model is so much around Circle and USDC, right? Like these guys have a relationship. Like let's not forget, the stablecoin trading is massive through Coinbase's platform, right? All the pairs with USDC, right? They're always constantly, telling you on their platform, hold USDC, earn your yield, utilize this. They don't want you using Tether on Coinbase's platform. Right, so a lot of their products are around USDC.
Brad Garlinghouse is very happy to let Brian Armstrong stick his neck out for this and put it on the chopping block and get all the blowback while he kind of builds in quiet with all the different organizations and partnerships and structures that they're building with on the Ripple net. I think he's just like, yeah, let this guy go talk what he wants to talk. I don't think and he's also kind of a friend of the bankers, right? So he actually wants some of this stuff.
Matthew, does RLUSD offer yield?
No, there is no native yield on the XRPL.
So there
that's
we
why
go.
They have to use the EVM chain or things like Flare. I could be wrong. Maybe in the last month or two they've made some updates. I thought I saw that there were some things you could do staking through Flare, but it always requires like a wrap token or some kind of rehypothecation or something that isn't a native yield that you get with like XRP or with Ethereum or something like that. So yeah. I've always been very sus about those things.
Basically, Brian Armstrong, this is what I think he's thinking. If users can't get yield on USDC, there's no point for USDC to even exist. Why would you? I mean, like, why wouldn't you just go with the larger one in Tether? Like, what's the motive for a user on Coinbase to use USDC? You pay less fees when you transact in and out of it, right? When you swap, that's a huge motive, and you can earn yield. If you didn't have those things, like, what's the point?
Hey, Zach, also some numbers here. We all know, Bitcoin is 21 million total supply. max supply. We know that's never going to change for more, which I'm sure it's like 16 million now because of all the lost Bitcoin and the Satoshi wallet and all this. So it's like what you said, you or the others, or Zach Subway said, gold, we don't know how much gold is out there and silver. We know how much Bitcoin there is. It's either 21 million or less, And if anyone in here owns one Bitcoin, which myself, I do, it is 0.19% of the world because it's 16, 17 million coins. So I'm in that 0.19. That's those are the chance, the average, the percentage of the world to hold one Bitcoin. And we all know there's a bunch of people that own more than one. So that even goes, if that percentage even goes down even less than half. Imagine when this monster, and I don't want to turn this into a Bitcoin maxi thing because, I believe in all coins and I think they're going to do their thing, but I sleep at night with Bitcoin. That's the one that I could sleep at night. People are saying $1 million. You are short, man. You are falling way behind. I mean, this thing, it's just going to be insane. I think in the next 10 years, I could picture Bitcoin way over $1 million, when this thing goes really crazy and governments and institutions trying to get their hands on even more. It's just a monster that, it's gone from, 0.00 to 100 grand. I don't even think it has even started yet, man.
I agree, Mark.
It hasn't even started yet.
Mark, think about it. The world, they're pushing everyone to digital assets. They, fluffed everyone up with credit cards, digital, kids with V-Bucks, all this. It's all about control. If they move everything to digital, they can control how much you make, or not how much you make, but they can tax you on it. Like cash is untraceable, right? So it's in their best interest to get rid of the cash. But it's funny because if you look at a bank, for every dollar a bank has, they can lend out $7. How fucked up is that, really? I mean, when you think about it. But like you say, Mark, that's why I think Bitcoin is going to go way over $1 million. It's because as they push people to digital assets, the first thing they're going to see is Bitcoin, the big stuff, and they're going to buy that first before anything and learn about it. And that's going to bring our value up because obviously the only way a price goes up is if people put liquidity into it. It's really simple. And I think we overanalyze everything, where if you just kind of keep it simple and basic, you're going to do well with Bitcoin. And yes, this is in the Bitcoin maxi space, but kind of sound like it.
No, and you don't hear Bitcoin. We're going to burn some coins so the price could go up. Like, all coins have gotten lost. And the reason we're talking about Bitcoin is to also find where altcoins have struggled. I'm in a blockchain right now that they just voted to add 3.5 billion more coins into the supply. Like, we're losing what blockchain and crypto was supposed to be, non-inflatable. Like, that's what we're fighting supposedly against the dollar. But now we're adding more fucking coins into circulation. And that's where, that is, as a Bitcoin holder, I love that. As 99% of my portfolio, I love that because it just makes odds look even more like shit and gives more value. And people realize, like, you saw that Coinbase commercial. A lot of people boo the hell out of it. I guarantee you do a Bitcoin commercial, people are not going to boo out of it. They're going to be like, it's too expensive for me to own or this and that. But they won't because they know what Bitcoin is. But yeah, man, they lost track. You have all these fucking, but we're going to burn tokens. You don't need to burn tokens. Just launch it with fucking 1 billion, 10 trillion, whatever it is, and just keep it like that.
But it's funny, Mark.
Burning, we don't need to burn,
Mark, when you look at all these projects, right, everyone wants to be at Bitcoin status, right, which will never happen. But when you think about it, these people that run projects or make a lot of money, they're doing two things. They're either cashing out, making their life better, or they're putting in Bitcoin. So you got a 50-50 chance of Bitcoin going up right there. That's why I buy Bitcoin. Plain and simple.
Bitcoin will always be king. What's up, guys? Yeah, Zach Humphries. I was just going to piggyback on what you were saying. For me, my motivation for using USDC, it's two very specific things. The yield, that's like 50%. The other one is just diversification. Obviously, you don't want everything in one stable coin because these have gone belly up, as we all know. But then you can't just choose any old stable coin. You can't do like 6 or 7 different stable coins. It's probably not good because, again, they go belly up. So everyone's probably just going to choose the top 2, the top 3. So it's USDC, USDT, et cetera. But yeah, the yield is definitely a good 50% chance of 50% of the reason for me diversifying into that.
That's a good point. I didn't even really mention that. That is a good point. Owning some USDC and USDT, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you don't want to be decimated in case of a Terra Luna Classic DPEG situation.
No, that's a great point. I mean, yeah, and don't own an algorithmic stablecoin at all.
Yeah,
because that experiment didn't work.
Just didn't.
Yeah, a couple things real quick just from a market standpoint. Aster continuing to show a lot of strength today, up over 10% on the day, 15% in the last 7. I like the Aster play, man. That thing dipped down to 40 cents, and I know hype's been getting all the hype, pun intended. But this is what we see. Like, we saw it happen in the privacy coin kind of sector, right? Zcash got all the hype, and then what happened? Monero, all of a sudden, boom, all-time highs. So, like, I'm following that right now. I've been in Aster. My positions are at 60 cents. I still like that play. I mean, it's performing really well in a bear market right now, guys. Up 15% in the last 7 days. You can't find a lot of cryptos.
I got in at 47 cents.
It's a good buy, Mar.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. Yes. And we're seeing Pippin and
River
run.
Buy.
We're seeing Pippin and River run again. These things have been super volatile. Great trades. I don't own either one of them long term, but this Pippin, I guess it's an AI play, and River, I still don't know what the hell it is. This thing's been up and moving. Probably time to actually look at these damn things and see what the hell they are. But
yeah, Pippin is just not. It's an AI meme coin. It just never goes away. It pumps. You don't hear about it for a couple weeks, then it pumps again. It's here.
I've traded it a few times, Ben. I've shorted it. I shorted it at 50 cents twice, and it worked out for me. But I haven't owned it yet. So it's not a real thing. It's just like meme coin kind of thing, or.
Yeah, it's a little more meme than AI. But yeah, it's what is it, like almost $500 million market cap, and the volatility is just huge. It's like what SPX 6900 was back in the day with this huge price swing. So yeah, there's money to be made shorting and longing that token.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I was just going to add with Aster. Some of the momentum has swung back this week from hype to Aster. Hype is now down 50% on the week. That was the hot one from the previous 2 weeks or so. Aster's up 15%. Obviously, perpetual DEXs and this volatility is just going to be a hot sector. I think a part of the reason is maybe because the FUD against CZ has kind of died down in the last couple days. That was big weeks ago. So maybe Aster was just kind of underpriced previously. Now it's rising. BNB token hasn't really been back on the upswing lately. So the reduction of the FUD hasn't, pumped that price. But it's all perpetual DEXs these days.
Yeah, Monad on a big pump right now too. It's pumping big time. It's up 15% almost in the last hour. So I don't know why. But yeah, Monad ranked 131. That thing launched on Coinbase. I'm sure you guys, if you're in the space.
Yeah, I got that one. My average on that one is like 17, 18 cents. Been buying a lot of Monad.
0.017?
Yeah, even 0.017. Yeah, you know what I mean. But they've been getting a lot of FUD that the team members have been leaving that project. But yeah, Aster is getting very close to my selling price. And guess what I'm going to do with that money, Zach?
Put it in Bitcoin.
Yeah, not all of it, all of it, to see if I could jump into another play. But that's my mission, But I'm not going to hold these altcoins like I used to long term, unless it's the blue chips, Ethereum. I'm good holding that one long term, Solana, BNB. But yeah, man, I knew that Aster at 40 something cents. I'm like, oh shit, this is a good buy here,
Yeah, man, that was a mean wick down the other day. Yeah, it touched 40 cents quickly. Yeah, I like that play, man. That's one that I feel comfortable holding, especially if we get back into a bullish environment, which we will eventually. I think that thing could be one of the top runners. I like Hype as well, but I like Aster because it's much smaller and it hasn't really had its day yet. And it's tied to Binance, it's tied to CZ. So that's a play I'm willing to stay in right now. Um, I'm not going to tell people to full port into it like some people will, but never full port into anything. Maybe Bitcoin, that's it. But Bitcoin is the revolution. I wanted to hear from you a little bit more, man. You chimed in for a second there. Any other thoughts around what's going on? Clarity Act, Bitcoin, what it means for us right now?
Who are you asking?
At Scholze.
I'm kind of my thoughts are the same as what was said earlier. Is I'm not a fan of the Clarity Act, and I've even gotten to the point where I kind of wish the U.S. would just like put prohibition on digital currency in general and just clear the air, because we have so much capital that's leaving this country through altcoins and people trading on foreign exchanges and dexes. It's almost criminal at this point. That capital should not be leaving the United States unless it's put into work somewhere in another country and doing something good. But most of the capital that's leaving the U.S. through digital currency is being used for, nefarious acts mostly. So if the Clarity Act if it does pass, hopefully it's going to do something to prevent all of that capital from leaving the U.S. And, what I'm hearing this morning here is that stablecoins are going to be a huge success, and banks and states and different financial organizations are going to be able to issue their own stablecoins. Then maybe that's going to put the Band-Aid on some of the capital leaving the U.S. But I'm not sure it will. People are going to gamble and chase 1,000x gains. And, so that's a little hard to prevent, right? Is the gambling nature and the culture more or less, in the U.S. and Canada and the Western countries. And, you can't really control that. You can kind of try to be the governor of it, but, people are going to find a way to gamble with their money to try to get rich overnight. And I think that's a big problem is the greed and envy in the digital currency industry, if you call it an industry. The culture, the digital currency culture, it's just full of greed and envy, which that's why it blew up originally, right? So that's my thoughts on the Clarity Act. Is start by banning everything, all digital currency first, and then letting people use 5 or 10 different exchanges in the U.S., 5 or 10 different digital currencies, and focus on how to get those not necessarily under control, but at least the capital not leaving the U.S., which that would be a huge task. But that's my thoughts. I'll wrap it up there.
Appreciate that, man. No, that's good stuff. Shout out to TokenWell real quick, our sponsor. If you guys are looking to diversify your portfolio, you want access to the top 10, top 20, you can do that through TokenWell, and you could do it through their diversified baskets. Shout out to them, great sponsor of ours. I put a post up in the nest if you want to check it out. Shout out to everybody listening to on the live streams. We're live on YouTube and X today, like 650 people listening to us live right now, in addition to the folks in the room. So if you guys haven't reposted the stream on X, if you're listening live, watching live, definitely do that. Share the room too here on the space. Hit the like button on YouTube, all that great stuff. Help us get out there to more folks. But Mutaska, you've got your hand up, and then we'll go to a new speaker, Khalif, as well.
No, I was going to add quickly what you said earlier about Bitcoin. There's something hidden that is beneficial for a lot of these companies that wasn't the case right before the last administration. And I posted something in the comment section because I was playing on it when the Treasury released the exemption rule. I think it's 2025-49 is what the rule is that exempted what they call the COMPT, which is the corporate alternative minimum tax. So in the corporate world, like you pull up any financial statement, they have the net income, and they have what they call the AFSI, which is adjusted financial statement income, which usually once you get to that level, that adjusted financial statement income includes other assets. So if you have other assets that under the GAAP rules, which is the general accounting standards rules, that you have an asset, say you bought it at cost maybe $1, and then it goes up by 50 cents. That is unrealized gains, right? Under the old rule, that will be exposed to taxation. And that rate was at 15%. So if you're a corporation and you may be having some benefits of, like, let's just take MicroStrategy, for example, and how much Bitcoin they're sitting on. If Bitcoin was doing really well and went up to like the numbers that people predicted, they'll be sitting on a lot of unrealized gains, right? And so, and if the rule hadn't been changed, they will be exposed to a 15% minimum tax, which is if you adjust your financial statement net income and it's above $1 billion, that is the threshold. As long as it goes above $1 billion, you're exposed to that 15% tax. And the Scott Bessent and the IRS, came together and pulled up a rule that exempted the companies, which I think Coinbase, maybe under their custody business, any company that holds Bitcoin or any other, I think there are other assets that are included as well, but you can check me on that. That is a huge benefit. We have yet to see how that would help these companies to grow. Like, for example, if you're running a custody business and you have the options to alternatively invest excess capital or use your excess capital as collateral to leverage the market and create more use cases, that is overall a net benefit to the entire industry. So that's a huge deal that has yet to actually show up in the market as of, like, how do we grow by enabling these companies that have accumulated a lot of these pristine assets to try to expand the entire ecosystem. I'm hoping that comes through at some point, but that is something that people should pay attention to. And if let's say you're an individual, you don't have to be like, you can open up an LLC, right? And then create your own business around that. If let's say you're running a plumbing business or whatever you're running, right? And then you say, well, I'm going to create a Bitcoin strategy. You get to benefit from this also, that exemption. So a lot of people limit it to like, options you have to benefit from it. But yeah, take advantage of that, because that's a huge thing. That's going to help a lot of people. If you don't know what it is, look it up and then see how you can benefit from it. But yeah.
No, that's great stuff, man. Appreciate that. We got a new speaker, Khalif. Welcome to the stage, man. What's your thoughts right now on Clarity Act, Bitcoin, XRP, Coinbase fighting today the big banks? What's your takes?
Well, I'm an NFT artist and I post my NFTs on XRP Cafe, and I'm trying to get in the XRP community, like work my way up by starting at 2 XRP and going up to 10 XRP. What I think about Bitcoin and Coinbase, I feel like Coinbase has good security. I don't really know about the Clarity Act. You have to really tell me. If you remind me, I could tell you about what I think. And about Bitcoin, one time I put in $5 like 12 years ago. I let it sit for like 8 years, and then one day I checked it when I was going to sell an NFT, and I had $2,000 or $3,000 in my account from just $5.
That's wild right there, man. Imagine if you'd have put 1,000 in there 12
Yeah.
years ago, man. That's crazy. No, yeah, welcome to the stage, man. Yeah, we're talking about the Clarity Act, which is big big on the regulatory front in the United States. And but yeah, man, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you. We don't talk too much about NFTs here, but I mean they got a huge community for sure, the NFT community, man, but more so macro here, and looking at all the markets and just trying to find the best opportunities. Maybe one day NFTs will come back mainstream, man. But yeah, man, it was a crazy time back in 2020, 2021. I don't know if you were in the markets then when NFTs were popping off, but JPEGs were selling for tens of thousands of dollars. It was pretty nuts. But
Yeah, I hope it comes back. I'm just listening to you guys, and I'm not trying to shill or nothing. I just want to educate myself on Bitcoin, XRP, and Coinbase, because that's all the stuff that I use.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah. Glad to have you. Appreciate you popping up. I am going to probably go ahead, Mutasco.
No, I think XRP, I wanted to make this comment. I forgot. It escaped me.
Yeah.
Zach, you know this, right? We talked about the Hidden Road acquisition, turning it into Prime, Ripple Prime, which I think it's an area that a lot of people, we like to say, well, how is Tom Lee buying his Ethereum? How is Michael Saylor buying his Bitcoin? Mostly OTC. And so when you create a business around the OTC prime brokerage side of things on crypto, you're creating a moat. And there's very few players in there. A lot of them are centralized old legacy systems like Citadel Securities and all the big players there. So to have Ripple get into that space is a huge deal. And I know that a lot of people, I don't care about like what it means for XRP as a token. I just look at the company and what they're trying to build as a moat. And eventually what they're going to do, you don't need to care about it. You don't need to, it doesn't have to make sense to you. It just means that you have to look at how much money they're spending and what they're trying to build, right? For all the things we've talked about in crypto, people always worry about what is the utility, what is the use case. But when somebody is actually spending real money to create a utility, they get shit on almost daily, right? And I like the sentiment here with Ma talking about altcoins. The thing with crypto is sometimes the when people are so aligned on one thing, you need to run the other way, right? Because that's actually the wrong time to be aping into anything, right? Because eventually what happens is you get something comes out of nowhere, and then it creates a type of euphoria that defines the market, right? Again, to your point, Zach, on Pippin, I've been in the DMs with Paid since January, and I was telling him because I went into the GitHub repo. The guy, Yohei, what is his name? Is it Yohei Nakajima? Whatever his name is, who's behind the Pippin thing. I just thought it was some random thing, but I digged into the guy, and he has this project called VCpedia.com. Just go on that website, okay? He has raised about $12 million on the guy is known in the tech Silicon Valley area. And this VCpedia is similar to Catalyst on the Cardano ecosystem. And then there's one that also exists, but basically it's like a platform for unicorn, venture-backed startups, right? And it's literally concentrated in the AI, machine learning, all that stuff. Just look up the website, go look it up. What I found interesting about Pippin, and I'm not even shilling, I'm just saying, hey, I'm looking at this, is it a random coin or not? And I'm trying to connect the dots on what it is actually, right? And I found out a lot of really interesting things. There's a lot of repos on GitHub on this thing. I don't know what he's trying to do with it. Obviously, what I found is that he's just doing an experiment. And for all we know, OpenAI started as like a nonprofit, right? There are several names like Doge, like is this a joke? And then it turned out to be like literally something that stuck around forever now because the Lindy effect and all the crap. So I think, and again, not financial advice, I'm not telling you to go buy it. I'm just saying at least look at it, right? Just look at it and then dig into it because today you don't even have an excuse. You can take that whole thing, dig into, use any of the LLMs and dig into the pieces of what this actually means because you don't want to be caught off guard, right? What if this thing is something, because whatever he has on his repos on GitHub, very interesting, very, very interesting. I don't know if the market is going to buy it or not. I don't know, right? But it's here. There's a lot of supply that is hanged up somewhere. I don't like that kind of thing, but I believe that it's not like some random thing because it's tied to this guy. And I don't know the guy. I just looked him up. I just looked up everything that I found online. And I found really interesting things about him. So, and I remember Pate and I were going back and forth. He's like, well, the Telegram is this and that. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, look at this information. Go dig into it, right? And then guess what? It's going up. Nobody can explain why, right? This is how things play out in crypto. Crypto is unique, is different. A lot of us came in, I like the mistake learning, right? I make a mistake, I learn from it and move on. I'm not in the business of trying to tell somebody what to do with their money. What I can tell you though is that there is a lot of risk and you could lose a lot of money. And all I know is that don't go all in on anything, right? My $36,000 Bitcoin buy, I can't even sell it. No matter what, like I feel like it's painful. There's no way that you're gonna get me to sell that, right? That's on the side. Does that mean I can't invest in anything else? Hell no, I will do that. And I'm gonna do that based on research, based on being, open-minded and looking at all kinds of optionalities. Because in life in general, you can't just bet on one thing in your life. Because what if that thing blows up? What are you gonna do, right? So on the Pippin thing, Zach, you want to take a look at it and dig into the guy. I've gave you one site, which is the vcpedia.com. It's very interesting. Literally, I have no idea what this is. I do know that it is interesting because of what I've dug into, right? All of the GitHub stuff. I think it's not just a joke. It's not also like some random guy that is just dropping nonsense. There's some logic to it. And I don't know if he's trying to wrap it to the token. What is he going to do? I don't know. But it's something to look at.
Maybe I'll hop in here. I was just going to shift a little 1 second updates. If that's okay. So yeah, when the market, a lot of news is spreading on crypto Twitter. A lot of people theorize, and I think this sounds kind of accurate right here. So when the market nuked on Thursday, when we went from like mid 70s down to low 60s, a lot of people theorize that maybe a general Hong Kong-based hedge fund might have blown up, not specific to crypto. Otherwise, we would have heard of it by now. But a hedge fund that invests in stocks, commodities, regular currencies, and also crypto division. Apparently, the people think they might have borrowed against cheap Japanese yen to long Bitcoin in the mid 70s and bank on it going up, which I guess is a highly risky trade. And then once it went down to low 70s, high 60s, they think that this fund had to immediately unwind all their long positions right there, and that's what nuked us down to 61,000 because it was just too violent, too fast down. Then we immediately rebounded. The next day was COVID. It took a few weeks to rebound. June 2022, after Terra Luna Classic, it didn't rebound. This day, this time the next day, we were back at 72,000 from 61,000. So a lot of people theorized that happened. So it was a fund that got liquidated, and if it was a crypto-specific hedge fund, we would have heard about it by now. But since it's more of a general Hong Kong-based hedge fund, we won't hear about it for a few months until their quarter-end reports come out, whoever it is. But I thought that theory sounded pretty plausible to me. Just thought I'd share that in here.
That's good
Ben,
stuff.
did you see Jeff Park's post on this subject that you just laid out?
Yes. Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
exactly. So you saw this too, Matasco?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you think it sounds pretty accurate like I do?
It's a little nuanced, right? If you look at his conclusion, I think in some way he's saying that he's bullish, right? On different levels. And I think we also don't have to ignore the fact that we're literally in a few days, we might end up with another shutdown, right? Because of the held up on the DHS bail funding, which is the Department of Homeland Security, because the Democrats wants the mask on ICE off. They want body cameras, whatever crap they're throwing out there, and the Republicans are saying no. So either way, if they don't agree and there's another shutdown, that is like some kind of uncertainty in the market, right? That could, trickle down into how we get labor data or all kinds of stuff, right? So this is going to push us even further. And I think the market is pricing in something. So we could say that was an effect, but there's all these other factors too that just creates a lot of uncertainty, especially within the Bitcoin market. But I think that write-up was really, I learned a lot from it because he used a lot of data to back most of his arguments. So it's hard for you to say, you know what, I don't know if this is, because if the data is telling you one thing, then how do you go against it? So, but we'll find out very soon, maybe in the next few months. I've said this always, that I don't see this market doing anything crazy until maybe near mid to late summer, right? So I don't have any expectation. Let the politics play out. But I'm going to hold on to my bags, right? I do know that before the election, something's going to happen, right? I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm banking on that. So in the short term, all the noise, I just will let it play out. And then I'll just use it as an opportunity to DCA into some of the quality assets that I believe have some foundation in the market.
Yeah, and then NVIDIA stock was also getting hit. So I agree, like what he was saying. There were enough reasons to kind of lower Bitcoin a little bit, and but there weren't quite. That wasn't quite surprising. There weren't quite enough reasons for it to go from like 77,000 to 61,000. But there were definitely macro concerns. The government shutdown and NVIDIA having a rough week that certainly caused Bitcoin to naturally dip a little bit, maybe unwind those positions. But yeah, we won't know for a while.
The market is pricing in something, and I think for anybody that has not been here for a while, if you're playing risky games, knowing that there's very little liquidity in the market, you're just risking your money. If you're not the first at the table, just let it ride, okay? Because you're gonna have your day. The price is gonna come to you, and you're gonna pick it up. I mean, right now I'm looking into some of the well-established digital asset treasury companies like MSTR and BMNR, right? I'm looking to get, if they can hit it down lower, I don't care. I'm just going to buy more of it because I listen to the earnings call. I see where these guys are. These are sophisticated operators, right? And they're putting the skin in the game. So I'd rather listen to those people, and if they're wrong, than listen to some random guy that I don't know. Yeah, maybe they have $50 worth of Bitcoin. Like, yeah, I think this treasury company is crap. Good for you, right? I mean, if you do hours of listening and you listen to these guys, they're very responsible. And we should actually applaud that. When we have players that are coming in, being responsible, doing all the right things, right? Why not take advantage of it, right? And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually very excited about, I grabbed the MSTR at 108, and I was like, man, at that point I thought it was going to go below that, but it didn't. And I'm glad I caught it at that level. My trade actually, I captured it at 114. So I saw it at 108, but my trade closed in 114, which I'm still happy about that, right? And so those are the ones that I'm looking at, the top ones that are backed by responsible people that have a lot of money. Again, people Ponzi scheme, whatever crap. Go ahead and say whatever you want. I just cannot see what I see and hear what I've heard and ignore that. I'm just taking advantage of it, right? And guys, not financial advice. This is just the way I'm playing it. And I'm hoping that when the market turns around, I'll just ride the wave, right? There's never going to be a time where you're not going to see all kinds of drama going on in the world, right? The U.S., we're in an election year. You're going to see all kinds. If you think this is drama, there's more that will come. If you think that is a reason you don't want to get in the market, that's a choice that you're making for yourself, right? I believe I was reading a report, a research paper by Carson Research yesterday, and they laid out Trump's first term, right? He had the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, respectively, did like 50, 47, 142%, okay? In his first term. So far, Trump's second term. This is not me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm reading it from Carson Research. You can look this up and also read it up. It actually blew my mind. NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P 500 so far in Trump's first term, while everybody is saying the world is coming to an end, they're like way above 15% across all three so far, based on their analysis, right? Now, what does that tell me? That tells me that, and I'm not saying he's going to repeat the same thing, but I'm seeing signs of expansion in the economy. A lot of people don't know this. They're going to catch this very late. I'm in an industry that drives the manufacturing data, okay? I'm in aerospace defense, and I'm on the inside. I know what the amount of bookings that we're getting, and these are 10-year long contracts, by the way, right? And it's ramping up really quickly. So when I see a data point like the PMI, ISM PMI clicking 52, I know why that is going up, right? I can point to a data point that says this is why. The other thing to note, and a lot of people are talking about, oh my God, the banks and that. There is a ticker on Robinhood. It's called KRE. If you look it up and you zoom out from 2023 as its low of $38, it's gone up now ranging between $70 to $80. This ETF literally tracks the sentiment on regional banks. You know what regional banks, at least 20 to 40% of the portfolio is commercial real estate, right? The rates, when rates are going down, it's good for them. Because if they're sitting on unrealized losses, in fact, from 2022, they were sitting on over 600 billion in unrealized losses, right? And because rates have gone down, that loss has shrinked to now almost about 330 billion. So if anybody tells you, oh my God, there's going to be regional bank, I'm not saying that could not happen. It is possible that in the next few months, there'll be some cracks. If they're thinking of raising rates because of inflation, you could see that ETF dip. If it's dipping, there's always a lag, right? It tells you that there's trouble ahead of us. Right now, I'm not seeing that, right? There's another ticker called KBE. You can look this up all the way on Robinhood. Just look at the chart. And these things track the large banks is for KBE, and then the regional banks in totality is KRE. If you look at that and you say to yourself, how is the economy running right now so far? Now, if you go on Dredge Report and all you're sucking is like all the bad, negative content, that's where you get your news from. You're like, oh my God, the world is going to an end. All these things are happening. Oh my goodness. And you're not going to invest in the stock market. And what you're doing is you're making a mistake, not only for you, but your family, right? So while I believe that there's a lot of negativity, I'm just trying to remind people when the negativity is at all-time high, it's probably a good time to start looking, right? Dumpster diving, looking at like assets that you believe have some fundamental behind them, right? And say, you know what? Are they fairly valued? Are they undervalued zone? Can I buy them? If I have money, I allocate to them because if the sentiment shifts the other direction, they're going to be the fastest horses to go out, and you could be making maybe 20-30% gains, right? That is better because if inflation is at 2% or 3%, right, and you're making 20%, you're doing okay, right? So just don't ignore this there's always two worlds, right? There's a documentary on YouTube called The Planet Finance. You have Planet Finance and you have the real world, right? The Planet Finance folks, they're looking at signals. They're looking at signals, whether geopolitics, whether it's the economy, that all the signals that will lead to positive returns on assets. That's what they're looking at. When everybody is glued to Fox News or CNN, listening to all the filtered garbage, some people are busy literally stacking up. And when they do well, don't look at them and say, all these rich people, tax them or do this, that. No, that's because you literally didn't pay attention. And you're trying to blame somebody for your own ignorance, right? That's unacceptable, right? It's one thing to not know, but today you have no excuse. There's a lot of resources that would help you do research, that will help you learn about things, that will help you actually just sit on random spaces that are qualitative spaces, learn a lot, and maybe allocate a little bit of money in assets. Have you heard about the K-shaped economy? Look up one of the legs and choose where you want to be. You don't have to be a millionaire. You have to start somewhere. Everybody starts from zero to where they get to. But I'm telling you guys, this market, there is a lot of signals, right? It has to be some black swan. It has to be some, I get it. You hate Trump, good for you. Or you love somebody else, good for you. That's not what I'm here to talk about. All I'm saying is there is an opportunity. And that opportunity is looking at you when things are this bad and everybody you get on. I get on some of these spaces like a funeral. People are like so down that if you're not careful, you're going to probably sell. A week ago, I get on some of the Bitcoin spaces and I'm listening. Some of them, you could feel the energy. The energy literally deflated.
Well, it's also because a lot of them have way too much money in Bitcoin. Because you could too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So if you put
you're right about that.
You know what I'm saying? If you put your whole net worth into an asset and it goes down 50%, how do you think you're going to sound on spaces? So again, I think that's a big thing as well. And so I go into those rooms. I know what I'm getting into. Some of these people, literally, have nothing in their bank account, and every dollar they make, put it in Bitcoin. I don't agree with that. Bitcoin is a hedge. Bitcoin is part of the diversification strategy. That's it. And you shouldn't have to go all in on anything. I mean, it's not smart. I don't care what it is. But in terms of Trump, what you were saying, Mutasco, equities under Trump have followed a very similar path, and we've got a lot of data, from his first time in office and now. We see sharp declines that happen really fast, followed by major runs. We've seen it time and time and time again throughout his entire tenure. Why? Because he spews random stuff, and he's able to scare the market with, a tweet. And then what happens? It rebounds fast. Go look what happened April, the most recent one, April of last year. Hell, look what happened last week. Go look what happened last week and the recovery in the stocks the next day. But the tariff stuff in April of 2025, I mean, it was such a blessing, man. I bought at the S&P 500 at $500. I kind of accidentally timed the bottom perfectly. It was awesome actually. I was like $7 from the bottom on the S&P in April. Got lucky, but no matter what, I opened it up and I looked at it, and it was like doomsday. Everything was, gonna be, hell was freezing over or whatever. And I was like, I'm buying, and I'm buying S&P 500 because I don't need to take a risk here. The S&P just dropped 20 points. I'm just gonna buy. And so I looked at it the same way when Bitcoin came down to 60K. Could we go lower? Yeah, but that's why you don't full port and go all in. I mean, a lot of these people in these Bitcoin spaces, they piss me off because A, they don't like to listen to anybody else with an opinion outside of their own. The minute you say something bad about Bitcoin, it's like taking a knife and cutting their identity. If your identity's wrapped to a singular asset, you're not playing this game right. Like you gotta be, you can't let your emotions be that entangled into your investments. That's why you diversify. Because if one thing goes down, you're not broken. You're not like. So anytime I hear somebody who's got to go on the attack mode when somebody says something, against their opinion about Bitcoin, that just tells me they're way over leveraged in Bitcoin, and they're literally banking on this. And if this thing doesn't happen, like they're screwed. And so like that's why they're like that. But like,
and to your point, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember who said this, but he says that a mistake will cost you a lot less if you don't have all of your life invested in a mistake. So to your point about diversification, I don't know why it's such a bad idea to diversify. I mean, you're not going to get even the degens to not agree with you that there are scams because they live it, they see everything. But does that mean that all you have to, the solution to that problem is to literally put every egg you have in one basket? No.
Yeah.
Like, this is the risk. And to your point, I was in those spaces and I'm listening to, the energy was just literally like, if the market hadn't recovered, I'm sure a lot of really great people were going to fall off.
Yeah, Matasco, I was
shocking.
told this space, even though we were a little bit doom and gloom here Wednesday, Thursday, I was told by other people it was the most positive space by far. Other spaces were suicidal and shit. I'm like, damn. And particularly the Bitcoin Maxi spaces, people were pointing out that they were very, very negative or doom and gloom.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny to me because a Bitcoin Maxi will just shun someone who invests in Ethereum or XRP or BNB, right? They'll just try to make them feel so small and you're so stupid. But these are the same people who lost their ass putting their Bitcoin to work back in 2020 and 2021 and earning a bunch of yield. They lost their ass. So guess what, buddy? You got wrecked too. You got duped as well. You're no better. You're no better. Nobody's perfect. I can't stand that shit sometimes. They won't even let people up that doesn't just like, it's literally like the worst kind of cult religion. Like some of that stuff. It's literally like that, like but worse. It's gross, man. It's gross,
right? You have your space going, and you have a lot of people that listen in. Whether
you can
learn
see
from
the
it or
value.
not,
You can see the value in Bitcoin and call it the best, but also like hear somebody out, man. Like you know what I'm saying? It's just like it baffles my mind, man.
Hold on a second, guys. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, and there's no second best. The God code was made for a reason, and it's orange. There's nothing else that matters. All your Ethereums or Solanars and everything else is garbage.
I can't even believe you
Bitcoin's
would
the
bring
best.
somebody up. They don't even own any Bitcoin. Their opinion doesn't matter at all. Like you can't even. You're not even allowed to talk because you don't even own Bitcoin. This is a Bitcoin space, guys.
You don't even have a Michael Saylor in your corner. Everything else sucks.
Like, we can't let the guy who's made $10 million in equities talk because he doesn't own any Bitcoin. He wants to share his opinion. Like, you're an idiot.
Let's bring it back to yesterday, where did you guys hear Trump say that he made a mistake for choosing Kevin Wash on Fox News?
Yeah, it's because
No.
that guy likes Ethereum and not Bitcoin. That's why Trump said that.
Did you,
It's ridiculous,
Zach?
man.
Did you catch that one where Trump says, "I made a mistake. I shouldn't have chosen Kevin Wash"? Well, it's not too late. I mean,
Well, I was
he
going to say
can
it's not official yet, is it?
well, he needs to go through the. His name kind of started popping up on the Epstein files, so we don't know what else, but we'll find out soon. But if you were talking about Trump's tweets, right? If this guy goes off again on this Kevin Wash guy, I don't know what that would do to the market, right? Obviously, the banks probably got their way. JP Morgan's and the rest said, you know what, if you choose somebody that is going to be yes man, the bond market is going to puke and your whole policy agenda is going to be wrecked. And then he's like, okay. Now he's like, the thing I like about Trump is, imagine if it was Biden or Bush or Obama. If you ask that question, you'd be like, I think he's a great guy. He has the experience, blah, 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 blah. But Trump just says it like he's like, I think I made a mistake. About 2 weeks ago, he was literally like, the guy has the looks, he checks all the boxes, he's a great guy, he has all the experience. And then the next day, he's like, I think I made a mistake. Don't you love Trump? Okay, guys. My son had a $3 billion short on the market. It's not my fault. It's going to be okay. I made a mistake. I'm human. And we're going to go with Kevin Hassett. Thank you.
Did you guys see the report today about how much money Trump has made in crypto? It's insane.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
He's
Oscar,
the only guy making money.
I'm trying to bring Oscar up, but I think I need another co-host. Is the room full?
It says he's a speaker.
Oh, it does?
I'll volunteer. His tribute.
Okay, he's up here now. Janice, before we get to you, I want to get to Mike. MM, he was up here for a while too. MM, what's going on? What's up, Mike?
Hey, good morning, guys. Just wanted to bring up this quick topic. You guys were talking about Clarity Act, just staying in line with that topic. I live out here west of Chicago, and I have probably 2 or 3 community banks that I bank with for business and personal. And I'm just really surprised at this point that nothing has been mentioned with clarity in regards to regional and community banks. And if you go back, I just did a quick chat GPT, but I mean, there's over $100 trillion in assets from ages 45 to 85 here in the country. And those people have fundamentally, a lot of that, I think it's like 32% of that 100 trillion rests in community and regional banks. And folks who are of the age from 45 to 85, they've done banking and investing in one way, and it's all created at the relationship level. I mean, I travel out to Iowa and Missouri, parts of Minnesota, and you just see these regional banks that have these, customers, 30, 40 years, family-owned businesses. I don't understand why Coinbase doesn't understand that part of getting crypto to be adopted from mass is, one, pulling from that liquidity, that $100 trillion that's resting from ages 45 to 80. But those people fundamentally, I think the idea of crypto is either too complex, or the more complex something is for somebody, the more trust is desired. And so if you can offer at a regional or community bank a situation where these banks partner with Coinbase, they can get a cut of some of that APR yield that's offered through USDC. You create some type of regional bank crypto czar who is promoting these products with these customers. I think you're going to get a lot of middle America more inclined to get off the sidelines on Bitcoin when they don't have to worry about setting up their Coinbase account, and if someone's stealing their or hacking, and the words that some of these folks might use, let the bank keep the keys. Let the folks that they've established this 30 or 40-year-old relationship with, who've given their first loan, second loan for their house, gave their first loan for their small business, let that person hold their keys. I think if that person went into a meeting room and pitched a new product to them, you would get a lot of more mass adoption. Just some of the things I'm thinking of today. So.
No, that was spot on. I send you something to look at on the regional banks and community bank side. It's a huge missed opportunity for a lot of these. You know, when we talk about stable coins, they have a huge opportunity, but it's. I did some post on this 3 days ago. There's a guy on Twitter. His name is Carlo. He's an attorney, a criminal defense lawyer, I believe. He's kind of made his business now on just consulting specifically stable coins. I follow him and he has a lot of really quality content. He did a post about this in the whole debate. And I responded to the post with some information on, some experts out there who have kind of carved out a really nice framework on how community banks and those rural banks can like take advantage of the stablecoin thing and just target their existing customers, right? If you remember when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, Bill Ackman was on a space. It was a Mario space. I remember vividly, I think of 2022, when the bank collapsed. A lot of people were wondering, oh my gosh, who are the biggest, depositors at Silicon Valley Bank? What they didn't talk about was the other group of customers that Silicon Valley Bank was serving, right? They were serving a lot of farmers and a lot of people in rural areas and all that. And I think when the idea of selling the bank came about, some people talked about, well, what is the franchise value of the bank, right? And so I think the community banks, the smaller banks that we know, and I think so far, they're doing just fine because it looks like they have a lot of their assets tied up in in commercial real estate, bonds, and stuff. So if rates are going to go down, they're going to be just fine. I don't know if they're proactive enough to see stable coins as an opportunity, but you're right about such a huge opportunity for them to capture, but it just seems like they're lagging behind, and these big banks are going to just eat them for lunch.
All right, I want to get over to Janice and then Oscar. I'm trying to bring up another person as well. Mutasco. Okay, perfect. Mutasco's a co-host now. That's what I needed. There we go. Perfect. Janice, what do you got? Welcome.
Oh, well, since you guys are talking about the Clarity Act, and I actually just got off the phone with one of the senators that's on the Clarity Act committee because it went to subcommittee, just barely, like maybe 40 minutes ago. We ended our call. And so because I have an air for transparency, as well as other expertise, I thought I'd just give you some updates. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name's January Walker. A few years ago, I ran for U.S. Congress specifically on blockchain solutions, and I was endorsed by like blockchain PACs and everything like that for the solutions that I was advocating for and for integrity and honesty on those levels. In corporate America, I was the Cybersecurity Information Security Officer of Digital Assets, and I received a couple of letters asking for investigation of some digital assets, saying, hey, there's something wrong here, but we actually don't know what's going on. And all of that has to do with the Clarity Act. And I dropped a comment specifically around a physics equation. I see that we have Bitcoin is the revolution in here, which is great because they have one of the equations that actually funnels up into this report. So just really quick, of this investigation, I found some critical SEC violations. The first one is that Bitcoin it says that it has a finite supply of 21 million Bitcoins. This is actually public information. You can look this up. That is a false claim. It does not actually ever reach that 21 million coins. So
why? Because of how much Bitcoin's lost?
Yeah, so inside of the math equation, what it does is it starts rounding down. Now, the problem with this is the way that it rounds down, and there's actually some really, this is not the most fascinating part of the report. It was just barely because of the conversation today that I'm now able to tell you this next piece. So what it does is right before it hits that 21 million, it drops. And so the counter never completes, but the amount of energy that it takes keeps going. So the mining facilities, everything continues. So there's no new Bitcoins generated. And you can go into the report. So if you click on that link, I hope you don't mind, I put it up, I think it's called the Jumbotron. I put it up in the Jumbotron. If you click on that link and if you go down to page, oh gosh, I think it's like 17 or something like that, but I show year by year how much energy it's taking and what percentage it completes at. So right now we're at about 95% of Shaw's cryptography is cracked through this brute force Hamming distance, because that's essentially what this thing is. Its goal is to crack the Shaw 256. So if you look in there where it stops on a very interesting number. So it stops at 20,999,999 point, and this is where it leads into cryptography, right? So what is crypto? Crypto is cryptography. 769. Okay, so that's where it stops. Now, the 769 number, it's this is Satoshis, right? So when you think about it, you multiply out these Satoshis. So that gives you 2310. Okay, you guys are going to want to write down these numbers for two reasons. One, you can use it to hack Bitcoin. The second reason is you can also use it to accelerate your mining activities. So if you want to, you can accelerate your mining activities, or you can crack Bitcoin with this information. So it's up to you which way you want to go. Now, yes, I see you laughing down there. I'm sure you're enjoying this.
Okay, I got a lot of questions.
Me too, Zach. I'm after you.
Go ahead, Cliff.
Well, I just want to know, Janice, why does this matter? Because the last Bitcoin won't be mined until like the year freaking almost 3,000. We'll all be dead and gone.
It doesn't ever mine. So essentially what you're doing is you're committing all of these resources, the equivalent of 36,000 terawatt hours, to something that never actually completes. So it's a malware program, right? So here's why it matters. Inside of the Clarity Act, that little equation that I just highlighted, okay? So this is a well-known cryptographic equation that we use to analyze malware. So that equation is going to be added into the Clarity Act. And the way that functions is it tells you is if something is malware or is it software. So this will be what is determined to be a digital asset in the future. And it's all mathematical and physics based. Because if you added Bitcoin as it is today to a quantum computer, right? Because we have to, when we talk about these things with these subcommittees, and they, pull an expert witness, which that is what I am. So when they bring this up, the question is how do we add cybersecurity measures to, one, protect digital assets, to protect the financial system, to protect critical infrastructure, and to allow us to be future compatible with these quantum computers, which within a couple of years, we're like within striking distance of having those completed. And if you're using 99.99999% of the energy that the quantum computer needs, that quantum computer can't actually function anymore. So we're in here talking about Bitcoin, hodl your assets, everything like that. But if we're saying hodl your assets, but we're now looking at it and saying, hey, based off of this equation, so I'm giving you guys knowledge of what what our discussions are. I'm essentially saying, hey, they're no longer considering this an asset. And these groups, these committees, these senators, everything, they're saying, okay, Mr. President, you installed a virus in our financials that you clicked the fish, and this is embarrassing for us now. So that's what the conversation is.
Well, here's my rebuttal to that. Why should I care, or why should I want quantum to succeed? Why should I care?
I mean, so we are beings of quantum, first of all. So inside of these quantum computers, we need them to succeed because if you go on to, you know, some other work that I have, there's cures for diseases inside of these computers that we can use. And so the reason that we found this is because the hashing algorithm between cryptography in computers and cryptography in biology is the same. And so we're essentially saying we're going to go cure diseases with these quantum computers.
That's assuming that they'll be used for everything good, right? That's
Well,
not assuming that they'll be used for bad.
You're questioning my integrity here.
No, I'm not questioning your integrity. You're not the designer of quantum. I'm questioning
Actually, but the impoton is replacing the qubit, though. I mean, that's the other half of these conversations. So I really want to talk about this prime number really quick, if that's okay, and then it'll answer the rest of your questions.
Talk about whatever you want. I just don't like quantum. I'd rather have Bitcoin than quantum. If it's a battle between energy, I want Bitcoin to win, hands down.
Okay, so let's go back to this, okay? So inside of this Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoins that it hits, oh my gosh, I just spaced on it.
You're coming in and out. You're coming in and out quite a bit.
I'm sorry. I am driving. Like I said, I just left some of these groups. So here's what it is. Because it never reaches that final Bitcoin, it actually can't. Like, it's mathematically impossible, which means that it just doesn't work. So that number, that 2310 number. Now, they're inside of cryptography. Primes, co-primes, that type of thing. And within these prime numbers, so primes have a direct connection to entropy. And remember, Bitcoin is encrypted with entropy generation. That's what you guys say. So we have prime numbers, entropy, and entropy has a direct connection into quantum. Okay, so everybody's worried about all of these things, and this is what it is. So with that, if you crack the cryptography of it, which is just called factoring, you guys all factored when you were kids, you get some numbers. So 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. And if you multiply those numbers out, this 2310 number is actually very special. And this is what Bitcoin's cryptography ends on. So first of all, that number that I just gave you, it wraps around 659, da 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 da. So there's actually a seam inside of the mathematics where you can find with precision this hashing algorithm. So this is how we're figuring out cures for cancer, cures for mitochondrial diseases, that type of stuff is through this number here. Now, inside of that, what's very unique though about this 2310 is in the SHA-256, when you take those numbers, so you would cube root, okay, so cube root 2, cube root 3, cube root 5, cube root 7, cube root 11. So what that means is that when you do that, that cracks the SHA-256. That's the method. So if you're looking to speed up how quickly you mine, you use those numbers and it essentially accelerates your efforts by 2,310. But the same method, like I just said, if somebody chooses to with the public address, they can start cracking your crypto keys as well. So it works both ways. And then with that, so there you have that piece. And then inside of these prime numbers, we have twin primes.
Janice, real quick before you keep going, because I want to get some other voices in here to ask questions. And Mutasco's got his hand up. I see Bitcoin unmuted there too. Bitcoin, go ahead, and then we'll get to Mutasco.
Oh, my only comment is this is a space killer and it's a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, continue if you want.
I mean, it's just math, sir. You do physics. I see your little equation up there. Speaking of that 210,000, so that is actually a square root of 7. Inside of this, if you notice that one of those numbers of cracking is a square root of 7,
All
so
right,
that's
hold
how
on,
we're doing
real
this.
quick before we keep going down the rabbit hole. Mutasco, go ahead and jump in. What do you have?
I just want to say, Zach, before Matasco goes, because he must be on a call, at the current mining rates, the final block of Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2140.
Right.
And it's pretty safe to say none of us will be alive by that time. And you know what? I'm kind of okay with whatever happens after that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some conversations with some folks about the quantum threat, and like these are people in cybersecurity and professionals. They don't think it's a threat in the next 5+ years. But that gives us
Agreed.
But that gives us a lot of time, I think, to come up with solutions to this. Yeah, Mutasco, we can hear you.
No, I'm listening in, and I'm just going to make a reference as I hear Jenna speak. To your point, I was listening to Michael Saylor respond to this question about quantum risk, and I posted a snapshot of the slide actually for anybody to go look at. Um, and this is the point that you were making, Zach, about keeping an open mind, right? You can't look at things and say, the way Saylor responded to this was, if we have that risk today, it won't be a risk just exclusively limited to Bitcoin. In fact, it will be a global risk. And
yeah, and to that point, Mutasco, why would they go after Bitcoin compared to much bigger money, much bigger?
Right.
You have many other larger options to go after. If this becomes like, if this becomes a huge threat, they're not going to really care about Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I think the SHA-256 now does 100 quintillion computations per second today. There's also a post by Vitalik, and I had to go into the rabbit hole, and he put out a post that Bitcoin has achieved what he calls a 2 to the power 96. So when Jonas is talking about brute forcing into the network, I think as we sit today, I'm not an expert in this. I just like to read stuff. I've moved on that view, like what Clifford said, right? I'll be dead and gone. And I think one of the things that we have to be realistic about, and I think this is what Silas said, which I think everybody can take this to the book, right? Because you can model this in your life and it might help you. He used this as like, take quantum as like vaccines, right? And in the earnings call, he said, imagine if we said, oh my gosh, there's a 0.002% chance that all of our kids will be infected by this virus, and then we're just gonna vaccinate everybody. Now you vaccinate everybody, and then 3% of those kids end up with side effects. What did you just do? You're afraid of a 0.002 chance, then creating a 3% of a population of the kids actually running with, and the point he was trying to make, which I kind of modeled this because there's I think he said he was a former president of the United States. His name is Calvin Coolidge. He quoted him. He said, if you see 10 troubles coming down the road, you can be sure that 9 will run into the ditch before they reach you. And I think we can all look at quantum. And again, there are a lot of really smart people literally looking at this issue, right? Is it going to happen at some point? It will. But should that stop me from owning Bitcoin? Hell no. And I think the opportunity before us may not exist in my lifetime. Maybe my kids' kids and my kids. So I think we have to be careful. Like, yes, it's a valid concern, but should we be worried right now?
So if you have 5% left, Okay, so essentially you're saying you will take an additional 5% Satoshis. That's all that's left is 5%. And that amount of energy that it's going to cost you is 30,000 terawatt hours in energy to get that remaining 5%. You're like that number the amount of energy that it's going to cost you is in the trillions. You will not obtain it doesn't work. The math equation doesn't work, you guys.
What's the problem? What is the problem? So you're advocating for quantum, right?
No,
You
I'm
want quantum
advocating
to
for
succeed.
No, I'm advocating for digital assets. So
How?
I require that if I'm going to protect something with cybersecurity, that it's an asset, not a virus. And I just came to you and said, hey, we discovered that this is a virus, not an asset, mathematically.
It's not a virus because it's not infiltrating and breaking anything.
But it's
That's what a virus does.
Right. So if we think of cancer, okay, so cancer essentially runs at 98% in the body on energy, right? So it uses 98% of the energy. Bitcoin is doing the same thing. It's using 99.999 something percent of the energy. Now, if you look here, so in that link, the page that you're going to want to go to is page, because this is financial stuff, you guys.
Janice,
I mean, if we're going to talk about this objectively and remove feelings.
No,
and
listen,
remove
I
There's
respect
no feelings.
I respect it. I respect where you're coming from, and I always bring up different voices, okay? But it's getting a little out there for me, and I mean, I just know our audience.
It's we don't have to continue the conversation. I'm just doing my public disclosure, and so now you guys have my public disclosure and what we talked about in the Senate.
I just want to say, like, I think maybe the reason why you're not being the information not being received well is I think is you're being very granular the way you're speaking. Like, cancer does not take 98% of the body's energy, and
no, it takes 98% of the cellular ATP, so it rejects the rest of it. But like I said, it's fine. You guys don't have to take what
I'm trying to say is that if quantum computing actually becomes a threat, it won't be a problem for just Bitcoin. It will be a problem for the whole.
But I'm not saying that
She's not saying that
is a threat. I'm saying that
Bitcoin's
Bitcoin is
the threat.
incompatible with quantum computing, and I'm saying that it's a threat for our critical infrastructure. So right now, you guys are spending trillions of dollars trying to build out nuclear facilities and everything to get all of this energy, and it's collapsing citizens. And then in addition to that,
No, it's not.
Prove it. I
how is
published
it?
a peer-reviewed research report.
Janice, you gotta let somebody else get a word in.
We're going to need that electricity for electric cars and AI anyway. So we're just taking up what's left from all of that.
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to tell you guys this whole time. She's not saying that quantum is the problem. She's saying that Bitcoin is the problem, and that's inherently incorrect.
Show me your
There's
math.
no math needed, Janice.
Okay, then what is computer?
What do you mean?
Computers are math. Computation is mathematical. So if you can disprove my math, I will gladly.
You've provided nothing of substance to disprove.
You didn't even open up my report then.
I'm not going to.
Exactly.
I'm not going to.
That's like the religiosity that I was telling you about.
No, because you're
going to close off our ears and not listen to anything.
Janice, the entire